The moon has no atmosphere. There isn't any air to breathe. Astronauts have to take along a special supply of oxygen on every mission into space. You could think of the Earth as a gigantic spacecraft. It has its own supply of oxygen in the atmosphere. But animals have been breathing the atmosphere for millions of years, and the oxygen has never run out. There must be something topping it up. Otherwise, we'd all be long gone from the face of the Earth. It's just one more reason to be thankful for plants and trees. They supply us with oxygen. Like all gases in the air, oxygen is invisible. So it's easier to see that plants give off oxygen with something that grows underwater, like pondweed. As the pondweed gives off oxygen, we should be able to see some bubbles. You can collect the bubbles given off by pondweed using a funnel and a test tube. The bubbles are gathered by the funnel and rise to the top of the tube. Once you've collected the bubbles, how do you make sure they're oxygen? You've got to watch this test very closely. She's going to blow out the burning splint and then see whether it'll start glowing again in the test tube. It's difficult to collect enough oxygen from pondweed, but you can just see the splint glowing, honest. To explain how plants change the atmosphere, we have to go way back to the 18th century. Joseph Priestley was born in Yorkshire in 1733. He was famous for doing experiments with air. In one experiment, Priestley left a candle burning in a sealed jar. He reckoned that the candle eventually went out because the air inside the jar had been changed, so he called it fixed air. In fixed air, a burning match would go out straight away. If Priestley put a mouse in fixed air, he found that it couldn't breathe. Priestley wanted to know why a mouse got into difficulties if it was given fixed air to breathe. Eventually, he tried putting a plant into the jar. Unlike a mouse, a plant could live for a long time in fixed air. After the plant had been growing for a while, he found that a mouse could now breathe easily inside the jar. Not only that, but it was now possible to burn things in the jar. After this experiment, Priestley understood a lot more about air. We know now that it's a mixture of several different gases, including carbon dioxide and oxygen. Burning a candle converts oxygen into carbon dioxide. Fixed air has no oxygen left at all. a living plant converts carbon dioxide back into oxygen. Priestley's discovery was very important at the time, but even so, you should always try to think of experiments that don't involve animals. Here's an experiment to show that plants take in carbon dioxide. They're going to be weighing carbon dioxide in this container, so they zero the scales first. Carbon dioxide sometimes comes in solid form. It's called dry ice. It's much colder than ordinary ice, so you need gloves to handle it. They've put about 50 grams of dry ice into the jar. In the warm room, this solid carbon dioxide starts turning back into a gas. You can see that this causes the balloon on top to inflate. Another jar gets filled with soda lime, which can absorb carbon dioxide. The soda lime is carefully weighed and gets connected to the plant bottle. With everything set up, they open a valve to let the carbon dioxide get to the plant. Eventually, all 50 grams of solid carbon dioxide will turn to gas and leak into the plant bottle. The green balloon has deflated again because the solid carbon dioxide has all gone. When the other valve is opened, carbon dioxide can now leak out into the soda lime. The soda lime gets heavier and goes purple when it absorbs the carbon dioxide.
So the soda lime's turned purple.
The soda lime is now about 20 grams heavier, so it has absorbed 20 grams of carbon dioxide. But there were 50 grams of carbon dioxide to start with. The plant must have taken up the other 30 grams. Plants take up carbon dioxide but give out a different gas, oxygen. So chemical reactions must be taking place inside the plant. A process called photosynthesis takes place inside plants. It involves several chemical reactions, but can be summed up like this. Carbon dioxide and water are the raw materials which the plant uses to make glucose. Oxygen is the other product of photosynthesis. But what else is needed for photosynthesis to take place? This is a speeded up film of beans growing in artificial light. When the blue light is on, it acts like daylight. At night, the leaves droop, but in the daylight, they spring back again. Light provides the energy needed for photosynthesis to take place. It's usually written above the arrow in the equation. Green plants are given their colour by a pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll plays an important part in photosynthesis. This particular plant has variegated leaves. There's no green around the edges. You can remove the rest of the chlorophyll by boiling the leaves in alcohol. Chlorophyll absorbs the light needed for photosynthesis to take place. This light energy is converted into chemical energy, which is contained in the glucose. Some of the glucose is stored in the form of starch. Once the chlorophyll has been removed from a leaf, you can test for starch using iodine. Iodine is orange, but goes blue when it comes into contact with starch. Photosynthesis only takes place on the green parts of the leaf, so there's no starch to be found around the edges. Chlorophyll helps plants absorb the light they need for energy and to grow. The total mass of a plant is called its biomass. This is important for animals who can't make their own food. Animals have to eat plants. Or animals that eat plants. Or animals that eat animals that eat plants. Or animals that eat animals that eat animals that eat plants. Okay, you get the picture. Only plants use light to make their own food, but it's just as well for animals that they do. Leaves are adapted so that plants can make the most of photosynthesis. They're very thin, so that carbon dioxide doesn't have far to travel once it's inside a leaf. Carbon dioxide enters a leaf through pores, which are mainly on the underside of a leaf. So that the leaves don't droop, there is a structure of veins, which help to support it in the same way that your skeleton supports your body. Why do leaves need a large surface area? How would you estimate the total surface area of the leaves on a tree? You could count all the leaves on one branch and then multiply by the number of branches to get the total number of leaves. They're using paper clips to make sure they don't count the same leaf twice. The leaves at the top of any plant or tree are arranged so that there are gaps. Light can then get through to the leaves lower down, which fill the gaps. That's why it's usually pretty dark underneath a tree. If all the leaves have about the same area, you just multiply it by the total number of leaves to get the total surface area. You can get the area of a single leaf by drawing around it on squared paper and counting the squares. Any guesses of the total surface area? It came to 300 square metres, about the same area as this white sheet. With this huge surface area, the leaves can take in all the light and carbon dioxide a tree needs. You can get your paper clips back now. photosynthesis stops at night, but there's another process called respiration, which happens 24 hours a day. Photosynthesis makes food for a plant in the form of glucose. Some is stored as starch, but glucose is also needed for respiration in cells in every part of the plant. In this chemical reaction, glucose combines with oxygen. The products of respiration are water and carbon dioxide, and the reaction also releases energy. Both plants and animals use respiration to release the energy stored in glucose. Plants need energy for growth, and there are also many chemical processes that require energy. Plants respire day and night. In the daytime, photosynthesis starts up again, so now all the pores in the leaves are open to let in carbon dioxide. And water is drawn up from the plant's roots. The veins of a plant are its transport system. One of the main jobs is to carry water. In photosynthesis, water and carbon dioxide are converted into oxygen and glucose. Some of the glucose is used straight away for respiration, providing energy for the plant. Glucose is also converted into materials like cellulose, which form the bulk of a plant as it grows. Growing needs energy too, of course. Some of the glucose from photosynthesis is converted into starch and stored. That's why plant foods like potatoes are an excellent source of starch. Remember, photosynthesis needs chlorophyll and light. So at night, only respiration happens. Respiration uses up oxygen. In the daytime, photosynthesis is going on as well, and it produces oxygen. But plants produce more oxygen by photosynthesis than they need for respiration, so what's left over goes into the atmosphere. And that's lucky for us, because otherwise there'd be no oxygen to breathe.